Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, and this is a podcast dedicated to helping owners of accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses, in fact, offer quality accounting services and getting paid what they're worth. It's with this that we work with the solo entrepreneurs all the way to the firm owners and partners to really help you get the information you're needing from the experts on a weekly basis as to what it is you need to be doing to work on your business. And today's going to be no exception. We actually happen to have a great guest, someone that I've been looking forward to having on the show for some time now. She recently had me on her show. It's Kate Josephine Johnson. She owns Heritage Business Services, LLC. It's a virtual bookkeeping firm servicing the small business community all over the United States. She can also be found helping other accounting professionals build a virtual accounting career that they love inside her Bookkeeping Side Hustle Community. Now, she is a very proud Texan, Baylor Bear, and a Navy wife. Her hair fits her personality, as I'm sure if you don't know, she's a vibrant redhead, and she is a morning person, big time. She gets more done before 7 a.m. because her kids are not allowed in her room, and she's able to get done more than most people can get done all day long, and I give her kudos for that because I get up in the morning, but I can't necessarily say I'm a morning person. Now, as far as her credentials go, she holds an MBA from Yale School of Management and a BA from Baylor University. And with regards to her background, in 2020, she was recognized as a top 50 woman in accounting. She actually worked in corporate finance before opting to become a stay-at-home mom for several years after her first child was born. So with that, Kate, welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here, Roger. Thanks for having me. And yeah, it was great talking to you before. And so I'm looking forward to being on your show.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So there's a lot that I'd like to discuss, but I want to give us some background or context. What got you into accounting? What brought you to this profession?
Yeah, so I mean, I have an MBA, so I had some accounting classes. I wouldn't describe them as my favorite classes, but
Yeah.
I had the a little bit of technical background. I wasn't I wasn't scared of the topic, and I knew that with some additional training, I could probably be brought up to speed on serving small businesses. So it was really important to me to build something virtual and flexible because I'm a military spouse as well. And I invested in myself by buying kind of a get started bookkeeping entrepreneur course. And I had never opened QuickBooks before that ever. I had, been more like, in business school, it's kind of more enterprise level. But was able to learn the software. I was able to remind myself of the accounting that I knew through that course, and then also just had to, reinvigorate and get the courage to do like the business side, right? Like you can be great at QuickBooks, or Xero or any other GL. You can be super strong in the accounting fundamentals, but you also, if you want to be your own boss, got to know how to run a business too. And so some days I think that's harder than the accounting side for me. But I was able to learn that, and I started to just build slowly. So that's how I got into it when my youngest was in preschool a few days a week. And now they're all still young, but they do go to school 5 mornings a week. So I have time and have built my business slowly, deliberately, trying the hardest to pick ideal clients. And it's been really fun because I didn't come at it from the accounting industry. Like, I wasn't like brought up in this. I kind of have made my own path, I think. And so I've never worked in a firm, so I don't know how one's supposed to run. So I just run mine the way I feel like I should. So
That works. So I'm curious. Well, first of all, before I even start, thank you for your spouse's service, your sacrifice. I do want to draw attention to that. I think that's a very big thing that we all should be aware of, and I appreciate it very much so. But with regards to your business, you started your business admitting that you had the MBA, but starting a bookkeeping business, I mean, what drew you to that profession? I mean, of all the businesses you could have started, why it?
I think it seemed very evident how it could be virtual. So that was like my head got around that. And that was like my number one goal. I had to quit 2 jobs because of who I was married to and not having a say so in where I lived. And it was devastating to kind of think like, golly, this is my future. And he's a treasure. I'm glad I'm married to him, but I don't get to decide where I live. And that was like the number one goal. And so I might have looked at a couple of other things, but I thought it was something that I, had a strong enough foundation in to where I could start to set myself apart. And then just, fill in the gaps that I didn't necessarily know. I wasn't looking to like do something completely new, right? Like I had invested a lot into my education. And so I kind of wanted it to be business related. And I really like teaching. And so I have approached my business as someone who like is helping small business owners who don't know a thing. Like there are so many, they are great at their craft and they don't know a thing about accounting.
Very, very
and
true.
So that stood out to me because that's when I feel like I thrive the most, is kind of as an educator almost. And I get to do that every day with my clients who are just like trying their best to make a living, but don't have the background.
I love what you just shared there. That's something I can personally relate to. I'm very much of the opinion that the accounting profession needs to be what I refer to as translators or interpreters for the business, because the business communicates through that understood, accounting language. Accounting is the language of business, but we have to be that interpreter for the business owner to understand what's actually coming out of it. So, you refer to it as an educator, I refer to it as a translator, and I think that's that exact same space. With regards to the virtual nature of the business, I couldn't agree more. There's a lot of people that I know that are actually expats. They don't even live in the country, but service accounting clients here in the United States. There's a lot of people that have clients around the country in various states. And it affords that ability to work anywhere and everywhere. It's almost that proverbial, I can run my business by the side of the pool in a swimming suit type of scenario. So it can lend itself to that if you'd like to. And I know of one, I was just speaking to one person just the other day that was running their business through their RV. The husband and wife were traveling around the United States in an RV. They would go get clients at the RV parks and related type companies. And so as they were traveling, they were able to write off a lot of the expenses associated to their travel simply because of the work that they were doing along the way, and as they went from place and location to location. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, like so for me, I know that like my husband's a fighter pilot, and so you either go to Virginia Beach, Lemoore, California, or Japan. And I guess I would have figured out the whole like immigration law stuff, like about working overseas. But in my mind, I was like, I got a 33% chance of like being overseas as a young fighter family. So definitely, like I had to have it mobile, and it 100% has been. I'm moving in 3 weeks from Virginia to Texas, so I won't like I'll tell my clients, but I don't have to. Like they won't. Nothing's going to change.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's what we're talking about. That is awesome. All right, so that actually brings up a great topic, and it's video. A lot of people obviously utilize video to communicate with their clients and create their standard operating procedures, their SOP workflows and such. Why do you feel video is so essential in business, and how it's no longer an option?
Yeah, so I'm not the best at the SOP stuff. I know a lot of accountants are. I do think it's becoming more and more useful, especially with distributed teams, virtual teams, as a way of communicating quickly internally. When I beat this drum a lot that I don't think video is optional anymore. I really think it needs to be public facing. And so when I talk about people using video internally, really what I'm hoping is that's just the launching pad for being able to get to get comfortable on a camera and hearing your voice and seeing your face and doing minor editing to then build that skill and maybe have be able to edit more creatively. I'm not even like that good, but I can do some stuff now. Like I've understand, like I get it. I get what video software is now. So I do think standard operating procedure, using videos in standard operating procedures is good. But I really hope accountants hear this message of like the world changing, and we need to be able to be out there, and it's going to be on video. It's not really blogging anymore. That's kind of gone away. You can do some of that, but social media is prioritizing video. So I think start with whatever you can. Then maybe start communicating with clients, but then aim for being able to use video with prospects, and building your business as a part of building your business, not just operating your business.
Yeah, I love how you identified very distinctly these three areas. One, internal. It's great for communication. It's great to actually, in your emails, be able to share your voice, share your face, and actually have that line of communication, even though you're communicating perhaps via email. I have done it using a service called Loom.
Right?
With Loom, I can basically have the computer mirror or watch what it is I'm doing as I instruct or give some guidance. I put that in there with the instructions, send it via email. My employee can get that and actually follow along, see what I'm doing, rewind it, watch it again,
Mm-hmm.
save it. So there's a lot of uses with that internally as you're describing. Definitely you can use that same tool as you're communicating with your clients. You're able to bring up that document on your screen, talk about what it is that you're seeing, give them kind of a summary of the highlights that are actually in the report that you may be sharing with them. Then you just attach it, put it in there, send it over to the client. And if they have questions, they can call you. But otherwise, you've kind of highlighted everything in a video format. And maybe it doesn't necessitate such a long meeting with them. And
Exactly.
then I loved how you said it can then also be used for prospecting. It's a great way to create content that you can then put out there for the masses and hopefully nurture your client list as they see you as that perceived expert as you're sharing insights, tips, tricks, and all of a sudden it's just that nurturing element that allows you to be out there in the public light.
I think it helps like directly with prospects for sure. I put content on I have the Bookkeeping Side Hustle Community and I have content for that. But then I also live like this separate persona where I'm like really building a bookkeeping business. I'm an actual bookkeeper. And
Yeah.
I have decided to keep that separate. But pretty much all of my clients by now, um, prospects by now have already made a decision about me because I bet almost no one is reaching out to me without having watched a video of mine on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that makes me glad. I'm like, good. I want to turn away the people who don't appreciate who are looking for something else. And then I don't even have to sell because they've already listened to my voice for 20 minutes because I've helped them solve some sort of problem, or a couple of problems by that point. Um, and that that vetting that comes is super important. But then I think even more so, um, a lot of our referrals and business growth can come from I don't know if it's like kind of like referral partnerships, but like tangential partners, not people who are just direct prospects looking for us, but like you, for example, like you're someone who like opens door, like has a wide network, and so I think we kind of knew each other because our faces are out there, right?
Hmm.
And there's been, if your city has some sort of, small business, development day, who are they going to call? The person who they've never heard, or are they going to call the person who his face is kind of out there and like, oh yeah, she can talk, she knows what she's talking about. We're going to pick her. And then, I've had doors open for me that way, because I'm out there, and there's probably smarter accountants than me, but they're behind their keyboards and I'm not. My face is out there. So it really does like just open doors. And I'm always encouraging accounting professionals to just try it. You're not going to die. You're going to be bad, and it's okay, and you'll get better, and you're not going to die.
That's right. Basically being authentic and at the
Yeah,
same time being you, and people are going to be drawn to you. You're going to get clients that I wouldn't get, and the same would be true for any of our listeners. They're going to get clients that may not resonate with us, and they're going to get them over us. There's an abundance out there. There's no reason to be concerned. Just be you, and at the same time, you're going to grow your business. Now, I want to go back to a comment that you shared earlier that I thought really is important to emphasize. You did speak of the accounting bookkeeping being one thing, but running the business as being much harder. Being that entrepreneur, I refer to it as being an accountrepreneur. I'm curious, what have you found that's been a struggle as you've run the business and stepped into that space of being an entrepreneur?
yeah. So I do find myself to be more of a visionary than a bank reconciliation person. And so that means like I can do the bank reconciliations, but I'm not maybe as detail oriented as some people in our profession. So just the processes, the procedures, I would, when I think about, if I could hire someone, it's definitely in the military they would call it an OPSO, an operations officer. That's kind of where my I don't know, weaknesses are. So that's been hard. I've had to discipline myself because like I'm the boss, right? There's no performance review. There's no like coaching. Like I'm the coach too. So I have to I struggle with that. I think I took on clients I shouldn't have early. I didn't really listen to everyone says, find your ideal client, and then we all take ones we wish we wouldn't have, and it's harder to break up than we thought. And there was a bit of that. Thankfully, I've been mostly blessed with good clients, largely because I haven't had to grow fast. So that's been a blessing that I think that maybe someone who really needed to scale more quickly might have had more run-ins with less than ideal clients. But I can do the work. I have worked hard to figure out, to try different things in accounting, and I'm more and more focusing on like the teaching and the training. That's why I like making videos. I like doing one-on-one training with clients, and I'm realizing now that like life's too short to like do stuff that makes me miserable. Even though maybe recurring client work could be more lucrative, but like to what end? So I've had to. Sometimes there's like gurus out there that are saying how to build, and realizing that I ultimately get a choice in how to build. And so learning that part of entrepreneurship has been a challenge, and it's been a blessing. Like it's all been wonderful, but it keeps my life interesting. But I'm not resting on my laurels. I know that I have to keep learning, keep changing, and just more and more of what I know I love and what I'm good at, and less of what maybe someone else told me that I needed to be doing to build a firm, because they're not me.
Yeah, there's a distinct difference between offering the accounting service and running an accounting business. So they are two different skill sets, different mindsets, and so it's interesting to hear you talk about each of those. You said something that I want to kind of elaborate on, and this is something that I just recently spoke on at a conference, and it's the difference between bookkeeping and accounting. And I know that you emphasize that bookkeeping is accounting. I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are about that, and see what we might be able to kind of dive into here.
Well, again, I'm an industry outsider, so I didn't come from having a undergrad degree in accounting or anything like that. I didn't go through recruiting, never had anyone train me. So I just think that, like, especially when you take tax out of it, like I don't really know what, to me, accounting is an umbrella term that a whole bunch, like anything to do with like business, like a recording business money movement falls under, and I think I like to say bookkeeping is accounting, because I think there's a lot of people who are maybe career changers, maybe stay-at-home moms like me, who are trying to build their own firm and are thinking like, oh, like, well, bookkeeping's not accounting. Accounting is hard. That class was hard for me. I took it a long time ago, but I can do bookkeeping. And I'm like, no, like at the end of the day, it's all a T account. And so you have to know the fundamentals behind it. And that's why I say that message. And the times I felt most insecure when I was working with clients were the times when I was out of my league on an accounting fundamental problem. Like the business owner did something that's not just, swiping their card and getting paid. Like it was something bigger than that. And then it was when like we really have to record this properly. And those are the moments where you're going to be like, okay, do I know this or not? Did I study the material? Am I a true professional or not? So that's where I get that message. And I try to say it a lot to the people who are coming into this industry, like, go back to the basics, get out the textbook, make sure you know what you're going to do, or someone's going to ask you a question in real time, and you're going to say, like, I don't know why that is there, and I should, but I don't, because you didn't remember that bookkeeping is accounting.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to not push back, but I'm going to give a little bit of a clarification that maybe you'll appreciate, but definitely the listeners might value. The first thing is in accounting, bookkeeping, there are a variety of things that we do need to be familiar with. It's more than just recording the transactions. There's principles such as LIFO, FIFO. It's how we're going to depreciate things as to this line of depreciation and so forth. So all of these elements are different decisions that need to be made within the business that have different consequences, and they're accounting related. So there is kind of a nuance there it's a little bit more than just 2 + 2 is 4. Do we want to do 1 + 3 or 4, or 3 + 1 is 4? So right. It's just that nuance. But the thing I would clarify bookkeeping and accounting as is the following. Bookkeeping is the recording of the transactions up to and preparing the financial reports for the client on a monthly or quarterly basis. It's producing for the client the P&L, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. And if that's done timely and accurately, we're doing the bookkeeping that the client needs. Where accounting is different, accounting is literally now taking that information that's been produced and now interpreting that information for the client. It's taking the time to do the analysis and actually ascertain what's going on from the numbers. And this is where that education or that translator element that we were speaking of earlier comes into play. It's where we're actually taking the time now to compare this month to the previous month. We're going to compare last month to the same month last year. We're going to look at this quarter compared to the previous quarter. All of these things are meant to actually see what's evolving in the business. Are we increasing our profit margin? Is inflation increasing the cost of goods that less money is going into gross profit? Is the advertising becoming too expensive? Is there an ROI there that we can attribute? And it's looking at all these things as we're running the business to really recognize, is the business still as profitable as it once was? And if we're not watching these numbers from an accounting perspective, the bookkeeping can be done and done and done month over month, quarter after quarter, and it's just recording the transactions, it's reporting on the past, but the accounting is really getting into the nuances of what's happening with the business model, and is it actually in line with what the business owner is experiencing? So if we're offering bookkeeping services and just delivering those reports, fine, that's wonderful. Let's have the client pay for bookkeeping services and let's produce those. If we're having the client pay us for bookkeeping and accounting services, then by all means, we need to be doing the bookkeeping and the accounting. We need to be giving them that analysis, that interpretation, that feedback. And if we're being paid for those services, we should be producing those results. And conversely, if we're not charging our client for accounting services, we don't need to produce accounting services. We just do the bookkeeping services. So there's some little nuance there. Would you add anything to that?
Well, I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
what would you call this word that I see kind of being in vogue now, this concept of being a virtual CFO? Because what you were describing as the accounting side, to me, like that's the word that I would have applied. Like we're becoming more of like the finance person for the organization. So how do you distinguish between bookkeeping, accounting, and then virtual CFOs or fractional CFOs?
I love this question. Perfect question. So there is a huge distinction. So I'm going to say that there are 6 things that a firm can decide to offer as services. So here we go. You get bookkeeping, accounting, tax planning, tax preparation, CFO, and advisory services. Those are the 6. They fall into 3 wheelhouses. Accounting and bookkeeping is the first. Tax planning and preparation is the second, and then the last happens to be CFO and advisory services. So when you bring up the question of fractional CFO, part-time CFO, what is CFO type services? I'm going to answer that. Basically, it's when you're working with the business owner to actually look at operational things within the business that relate to cash flows. So you're creating policies. You're helping the business owner realize what kind of relationship they need to have with their customers to have the cash flow necessary to run the business. Do they need, for example, to cover the COGS, maybe 50% down on work projects that need to be done or purchases that are taking place? Do they need to have 10% down? Do they need to have, say, 70% down? What is it that they need so that they do not operate as a bank? How do they build relationships with their accounts payable, their accounts receivable? So these are the policies that determine, okay, with my vendors, I'm going to be on net 10, net 30, net 45 types relationships. And the CFO is going to actually negotiate those and try and build those relationships with the vendors to kind of retain the money longer so they're not paying it out as quickly. And then on the converse with the receivables, what are the receivables relationships? And what are your processes to actually manage your accounts receivable so that you're getting the money in before writing them off to collections? When do you write off things to collections, and how does that take place? To whom you give them, what collection agency are you going to give those accounts to? All these decisions that are going on are the CFO type related decisions that you're helping the business owner make. They make them, but they're leaning on the CFO to say, well, should I send things to collections at 45 days, at 90 days, at 120 days? At what point do I write it off? Should I, in my accounting, actually impair my revenue because I write off so much? Should I just impair it at the very beginning? Should I have relationships with my bank, my lenders, my where I'm getting my capital? What kind of lines of credit should I have, and what can I do to go to the bank to get the needed line of credit? All of these types of things are at that CFO level because we're talking about business operations. We're talking about decisions that really impact cash flow. So it's not the analysis of the financial reports that we're doing in the accounting space. We're literally getting into the business operations, and that's the CFO space.
Okay. I mean, that's more of a explanation than I've heard in a long time. So I definitely appreciate that. I would say for me, I I am targeting businesses that are not at that level. They're not, just more on a micro scale but still trying to be that advisor.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not, negotiating with their, they don't have enough vendors to have a full negotiation process with. And so it's interesting to think about a business large enough to be able to truly have a fractional CFO who they have enough of those needs to say, I'm going to invest in hiring a pro to help me do all those things that you just described.
Yeah.
I like to consider myself pretty soup to nuts, but for starting small enterprises. That's what I just thrive on and what I really enjoy.
Well, two things that I think relate to this discussion is I think it is common in the accounting space that we oftentimes volunteer things, we offer value and not get paid for it. So you may be tiptoeing from a bookkeeping space into the accounting space and not get paid for that because you're doing some analysis, because you observed things that you want to bring to the attention of the client, but they're not paying you for accounting services. You might tiptoe into the space of CFO in the sense that you're advising them on this, that, or the other as it relates to cash flow. So you could tiptoe into these spaces and not think that the client has enough of a sustained need to say that you're going to necessarily charge them. But I think that's where you're starting to get into the gray area and maybe abused, because maybe they could benefit from a constant flow of information as it relates to accounting or CFO related matters. And maybe if they saw that you could help in that space, you could articulate, this is what my package would be, this is how I would deliver this service, and this is what it would cost. And they may appreciate your perspective and insights. I'll just share an example. I had a client that was a swag company. As a swag company, he would take orders for product. And he was in a situation where he was taking orders from a variety of different clients, some of which were friends, some of which were new customers, some of which were established customers. And he varied as to how much money he required down before he ordered the swag and had it, embroidered and customized for the client. And what I found is that he had a cash flow problem. His cash flow was such that he was oftentimes fronting the money to purchase the product, acting like a bank where he would then get the swag and deliver it and then be paid. And what we were realizing is he was really eating up a lot of his margin because he was drawing on his line of credit, using his credit card, when in reality, he should have been asking for a certain amount down from the client to cover a lot of the upfront costs that were associated with the swag purchase. So he ended up implementing a policy of 50% down. Now, I'm operating with him in a CFO capacity, helping him establish a policy that he can implement in his business and refer to with each of the transactions that he has, because now it's not, I'm doing business with a friend. He says, oh, by the way, our policy is you got to do 50% down. It's not I'm saying 50% down. Our company policy is 50% down. And he knew that number because the number was something that we were able to determine or identify was necessary to cover the COGS for him to be in business and not be that bank. And so all of that's not a bookkeeper figuring this out. Bookkeeper is doing the financial reports. It's not the accountant doing the analysis of the bookkeeping. It's that CFO space of saying, what's wrong with the business model? Why are we, using so much of our line of credit? Why aren't we keeping the money in the bank when we get paid? We're now buying product for the next customer. It was really looking at the business model. And from that, we were able to actually, in that CFO space, help him change his business model, implement policies so that he could actually make decisions, sell goods in a way that made him profit. And that's that CFO space.
One of the things that's making me think of, perhaps your listeners are, they're client friendly, they've had clients for a long time, and there might be people who call them and want to pick their brain, or and that's the time whenever we're doing the work that we're not getting paid for, right? Because it's we're nice people. Most people are good people. So when someone, if you get on the phone with someone, you're going to be giving away your expertise. You can't help it. You love talking about it. And it made me think about how you started this. At the beginning of this conversation, we talked about the Loom videos and reducing that client time. And it almost would be some guardrails for you to not be giving away all the expertise for free, because you're not going to record yourself blabbering for, about this topic. They're going to ask you a question and you're going to, it's going to be scheduled. It's going to be planned. You're this is what we're paying for. We're going to give them the Loom debrief of the financials, but then, they're going to want more. They're like, well, but I don't just pick up the phone anymore, right? Like that's not my policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you can start to upsell, like, well, you seem to have a lot of questions. You seem like there's a lot of things that we could start to analyze for you. Let's price that out, versus just being the nice guy or gal who loves talking to clients, but ending up not getting paid for the advice that we're giving. So almost like a way that video can kind of, coming full circle here, that
Mm-hmm.
could be a tool to keep yourself only answering the questions that you're being paid for asking, for being paid for answering.
Very true. Yeah, you've got to really consider how you're going to monetize this, because you are an expert. You have information that has value. So there's two things that I would add to what you just shared, and you were very good at explaining how with your videos and everything else you can be on topic. The thing I would say is, first of all, differentiate between the what, the why, and the how. You can talk to your clients about what they need to be doing. You can talk to them about why they need to be doing it and get their interest. But the how is what they really should be paying you for.
Okay.
The how is your expertise on implementation and application to their specific situation. That how is what you're paid for. So I think you can tease them and entertain them with the what and the why and get their interest, but the how is what they're going to pay you for. And then related to that, the second thing is you've got to understand there's a little bit of a tease here going on. You can answer the one question quickly and help them see that you know what you're talking about and have something more to offer. But you have to also recognize at some point that after they've tasted it, after they've tried it, you need to be able to say, by the way, just to be clear here, this is an additional service. So like in menu pricing, you can price it where I do bookkeeping, accounting, and tax. And then the big thing that I'm offering here as a package is my CFO and advisory type services. It appears that you're paying me right now for the bookkeeping. Would you like the bookkeeping, accounting, and tax? Okay, great. It appears that you're paying me for this. Would you like to move into that CFO package that I have? And all of a sudden, they're starting to see, oh, okay, I see how this is different, because that conversation is going to be totally different than here are your financial reports and they're done and they're accurate. Go to town on them.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like you've seen a lot of this and a lot of people who've made mistakes. I know you've interacted with a lot of us in this industry, and it's like, golly, how am I not getting paid for this? So, yeah, it's when you can break it up into little frameworks like that. Those are great things to kind of anchor on. So,
Yeah.
I bet the listeners will benefit a lot from just your expertise and your clear way of presenting frameworks.
Thank you. So here's my question to you now. I love what you're doing. Obviously, with your life, with the children and everything, you've got something that some might consider a hustle versus a hobby. What's the difference between the two? A lot of people will start doing client work, bookkeeping and accounting on the side. They've got a day job. They may have a client or two that they do on weekends or weeknights. When does it switch from being a hobby to a hustle, a job, where you're that entrepreneur that I refer to?
Well, I don't think anyone should be doing accounting as a hobby. These are people's livelihoods. So,
Thank you.
If this isn't serious for you, like that man or woman whose business you're helping, they're not gonna be able to feed their family, right? So you have to treat this with utmost seriousness, because it's people's livelihoods. I said that. So for me, as long as I work hard. I am fortunate to not have to work a lot of hours. That's deliberate. I could work more. There are definitely more clients would have me work for them than I want to, right? That I'm working for right now. So I am looking at it as kind of like seasons of life. This phase right now is a perfect example. My husband's already moved. I have to move in June. We don't have a place to live. I'm in about a 4-month, and we sold our house. So the month before this, I'm selling a house for the first time. I've never sold a house before, so that was a big deal. And so my calendar's kind of blocked off. So in a way, it's still very much, feels, people might look at it and be like, oh, well, she's not running a real business. No, for the time I'm working, I'm running a very real business, but I have built it such that, until September, I'm going to keep things pretty tight and limited. September is going to be a new season, right? The kids are going to go back to school. Hopefully I'll have a place to live. I'm assuming that's going to be all worked out. And I'm excited about ramping back up in September. And it'll be a great time, because the smart clients, that's when they're going to be looking for people. They're not going to wait. They're not going to be the people who wait till February and are like, I need help. And it's like, well, you're going to wait in line, right? The
Yep.
good ones are going to be looking for us in the fall, and I'll be ready to take on more. So that, I guess that's just it's more of an ebb and flow. When I say hustle, it's like seasons of being able to work real hard. December is a hard time for my family. It's busy. There's like every kid has something, multiple things with school, and we want to go see family because we're always we live our lives away from our families, and so I want an easy December. I want an easy summers, and that's how I built my business. So it kind of maybe looks like a side hustle, and people who have full-time employment, they might be able to do this too. And again, like if you've got a busy season with your own job, you might ramp down the side hustle and not try to grow it. But then there might be a time when you can do more. So that's what I mean. But it is at all levels. It is serious work. It's not a hobby. Please take it seriously.
Yeah. Well, for the client, definitely. I mean, this isn't just something that's kind of on a whim, but I loved what you just described, because one of the things that I always try to point out is this is their business. Anyone that's doing this is your company. Whether you're offering 1 or 5 or 6 of those services that I spoke of earlier, that's your choice. If you want to do bookkeeping and tax preparation, awesome, do that. If you want to do bookkeeping, accounting, and tax preparation, wonderful. If you want to do tax planning, phenomenal. All of these are various services that you get to choose whether or not you provide. But the other thing is just what you're describing. Whether you want to have this full-time business that you're working 60, 80 hours a week, or do something that you're working 15, 20, 25 hours a week, whether or not you have the flexibilities as you're describing to move from one location to another, all of these elements are things that are afforded you as you run your business and build the company you want. And I love how you've been able to kind of mold and adapt the business model to your needs as a mother, as a spouse of somebody in the military, as you're meeting your own personal needs. These are things that you're all adapting and molding to, and you're doing a phenomenal job of it. And I think you're a great inspiration to everyone. So thank you for that kind of clarification.
Yeah. I'll maybe add one thing. I know it was something that we thought we might talk about. Is one of the ways that I think I have been able to have flexibility in my bookkeeping business is I have diversified income streams. And so just because I might not be working hard, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not making money. And there are things that I can do, like this summer when I'm visiting my parents in South Texas, that might not be client related, but they're I have a monetized YouTube channel. I have, accounting adjacent affiliate things that I'm a part of. I will get hired for speaking, stuff like that makes it so I really do have the flexibility. If I don't want ongoing client work, I can ramp up other things too that might be a better fit for whatever particular season that I'm in. So that has really helped me as I've built my business, and I think about it as like, a whole umbrella of things that I do. So the more people can learn about, the more your listeners can learn about ways to do that, then I think it's just there's more levers to pull, more than just like the 6 that you said. There's 6 kind of categories of pure accounting work, but there's a whole lot of other ways to make money too that aren't even those 6. If you just start to look up and like see different, I mean, it's one of the things I teach. How to make different income streams in the accounting space.
Very good. No, I like that. And that's one of the things that you do talk about, because just like you're doing, you have a community, and that's something that you're offering. And through that community, you get affiliate revenue and you get your monetized YouTube channel. So there are those different elements that once you get into that expert mindset, you can really find your own niche, and your niche can be the accounting profession, helping the accounting community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like if you are, like even if you don't want to work with other accountants, like there's probably, if you're in the construction industry, there's probably other like industry things that you can do. The apps that, that you're promoting to to clients and prospects, or speaking at industry conferences, being an expert like that. So there's all sorts of ways to do it once your eyes are kind of open to wow, there's a whole lot more out there than just direct client work to make a living.
Yep. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, we've had an amazing conversation. We've covered a lot of topics. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to summarize our conversation, and then I'm going to come back to you for a closing thought. One of the things that I want to do before I begin this, though, is just point out to our listeners that in the episode description, we have some things that you'll want to take advantage of. First of all, Kate has a newsletter that you can subscribe to in the episode description. And obviously, she's got this community that she's building. So there'll be information about it that there that you can take advantage of. And then also regarding the whole idea of running an accounting business, you're going to find there the turnkey business plan for accounting professionals. This literally is the how-to guide of what it is you need to be doing to have the premier accounting firm in your area, what the different services are that you could perhaps offer, how to price them, market them, how to actually onboard the clients. It's a turnkey business plan for you to actually look at and in a big high level, get a perspective of what it is you need to be doing to work on your business. So I encourage you to go to the episode description and get that information regarding what Kate has to offer and the turnkey business plan. As a summary of our conversation today, we covered a lot of things. First of all, I love the fact that we talked about video. I do agree with her. It's no longer optional. I think we should be using it as a way to document and kind of record what we're doing as best practices. I think internally, it's a wonderful way to communicate more than just in text what it is that someone needs to be doing. We can visually show them. It's archived. It's something they can refer back to, and it can really eliminate a lot of the time that we're spending with individuals to train them. But more importantly, it gives them kind of this tool or resource of things that they can refer back to. I think it's a phenomenal way to communicate with clients. The videos give us a way to be personable in our information, more so than just an email with a PDF attached to it. It might free up our time so that we don't have to have as lengthy of conversations with them in person because we were able to concisely in the videos highlight the things that they need to be aware of. And then I do believe that from a prospecting point of view, it does allow people to get to know us. It allows us to be authentic and resonate with those that are actually gravitated to us as we're trying to find our new clients. And so from just a prospecting point of view, I think it's a great way to get ourselves out into the community. And we're all seeing them. It's in the short reels, it's the TikTok videos, it's all those types of things. It's just an excellent way for people to get to know us, to know, like, and trust us as they're considering our services, and by all accounts, see us as an expert. The other thing I loved was the conversation we had between what is bookkeeping, accounting. I loved hearing Kate's insights on what that truly is and how it is for a person to come into this profession. I appreciated her questions as to CFO services, what those will look like. I really do feel that this is something that we need to distinguish very clearly within our own profession. We need to speak more clearly as to what it is the clients are paying for, and we need to help them understand what they should expect from us for the monies that they're paying. I think that give and take of the accounting profession and the business community needs to be a lot more clear, and I believe that was a great discussion to help that. I also enjoyed her clarification of hobby versus hustle. The fact that we need to take seriously the numbers that we're actually working on for our clients. This is their business and we need to take it seriously. But at the same time, we can have the flexibility as we build our business to build exactly what we're wanting, to live the lifestyle we want and enjoy the things that we want to. So whether it be a virtual business or whatever the like may be, it's just basically a business that is ours and we can be proud of it. So lots of great takeaways from today's conversation. Kate, what closing thought would you have for today?
I'm shooting from the hip here. The thing that is kind of coming to mind is just the benefit that can come from interacting with people who are not like lifelong accountants. I think that's where your creativity is going to come. It's where you're going to get courage to do videos. It's where you're going to get ideas for diversifying your income streams. It's where you're going to learn to do different funky, fun ways of pricing and learning how to have those conversations. And there's a lot that can be learned from people outside our industry. Yeah, the automations, the robotics, all the AI stuff. A lot of that is not going to. You don't just learn from in our industry. Keep your head up. Interact with people who are doing interesting things. They're creative. It's going to make things a lot more fun. So that's my closing thought.
I love it. I love it. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Everyone, if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to the podcast. This is definitely something that you want to subscribe to and set your notifications to receive each and every week. We're having the experts on and you'll want to actually get notified of those. And more importantly, go back and binge listen to those episodes that you'd like to that are specific to your situation and help you address those things that you're wanting to work on in your business. There's more than 100, now almost nearly 200 episodes that you can refer back to with excellent guests and wonderful topics that you can go back and see. Regarding the conference GrowCon, if you haven't already, definitely get your ticket for GrowCon. It is an annual conference that we do each and every year for owners of accounting firms, bookkeeping, tax businesses. It allows you to come meet your peers, hear from the experts on the stage, and more importantly, make that community connection that you're looking for, where you actually get to interact with individuals that you can perhaps affiliate with, associate with, refer to, and most importantly, learn from. Lastly, I want to point out that with regards to this podcast, if there's information you'd like to actually ask about or maybe consider applying in your business, feel free to reach out to us at Universal Accounting. You can call us at 801-265-3777, or you can visit us online at universalaccountingschool.com. Either way, go to the episode description for all these details. And in the meantime, be safe out there, enjoy yourselves, and most importantly, always remember, if it's about accounting, it is universal.